Hey team, I couldn't find a video online that I really liked, so I figured I'd just recreate very quickly what we talked about on our call. To do row level security, you need to have two main things. The first is a data set that I'm going to call a fact table or a sales table in this case that has that particular ID in that fact table, and it needs to be associated with a certain salesperson. These salespeople or employees, these are the people that you really want to safeguard what they can see. So, an example, in this example, I don't want Jason to be able to see Bart's stuff, and I don't want Bart to be able to see Emmanuel's stuff. And these people also have managers, and I want those managers to be able to see the total book of business for the particular employees that they manage. So to do this, I have my sales table and I have the name of that salesperson. And then in my entitlement table, I have that same name right here. But really importantly, I have the username in which they're going to use to log into Tableau. And if you don't know what that is, I'm going to show you how you can actually see that directly in a Tableau workbook. Then I have the managers above here. So I just have two levels, but I have two different managers. I have Sam and I have Michelle, and I have their usernames right here. And then finally, I have their final manager here. But this could work for multiple levels if need be. Okay, I'm going to go over to Tableau Desktop here, and I'm going to add my sales table to my data model. And I'm going to initiate something called a physical layer. A physical layer is when you double click on a particular table, as in this example, sales table. What this does is it allows me to do my more traditional join. So I'm going to do an inner join with my entitlement table. And I'm going to join on the salesperson. So that's the name of the person in my sales data set. And then I have that same name in my entitlement table. So I'm going to do an inner join on these two fields. What that's going to do for me is it's essentially going to create one long table, or one wide table rather, of my salesperson, but also all the information that's also in my entitlement table, including my managers and their names. Okay, from here, I'm going to close my physical layer join, and I'm going to create a new sheet. In the sheet, I'm going to create a very simple table that's going to show off all the fields that I have in my Excel. So I want to be very transparent about this. We're going to show our managers as well. And then on the sales side, I'm also going to show off the amount of sales. That way we can get an idea as to what's happening behind the scenes. Okay, lovely. I'm going to make this a bit bigger for our benefit. Nice. Okay, now to show off row level security, what we're going to do is we're going to create a filter. And this filter is going to look like so. So first iteration of it is username. So this is in orange. That means it's a field in Tableau. It's username. We have that username field in our table like so. Then we're going to check if that username is equal to a username function. So username function is default in Tableau. It basically checks who signed in to this dashboard, and it's going to return that email address. To make things easier, I actually have a username function here that I'm going to use for demonstration purposes that I'm going to place right next to my username. So you can easily see that. Now, right now it's showing that in, so Michelle is signed in. I can change that just for experimental purposes. I can change that down here by this red arrow. I'm going to change this to be my name. So I'm going to get Jason Beckadam here. And I'm going to make sure that I add this user filter up to my filter shelf to select true. In doing so, we're going to see that my name, only my name is being shown, right? I can only see the data that pertains to me. So in this case, I have about 4.6K in sales. And it also allows me to start to, well, verify this, but also think about how I'm going to include managers. So for managers, we're going to go to that same filter that we currently have set to true. And we're going to say or, and in or, I'm going to say username. So I'm going to, again, call out who the person Who's that person who just signed in? I'm going to say equals manager right there, right here. All right, perfect. So when I hit OK there, because I'm not a manager, it's actually not going to matter because I have an or statement. But if I was to, in this case, add Sam, so I'm going to say Sam is the manager. And let me see, let me make sure I have Sam here on my Tableau server. Yep, I do. Perfect. So when I add Sam here, we're notice that because Sam is my manager, right? She is my manager, so she can see only what I can see, which is great. She can see Jason Beckadam's sales. But I have another manager here in Michelle, and I'm going to bring up his name so we can see the difference. So for Michelle, he actually has 2 employees under him, Bart and Emmanuel, so he can see Bart and Emmanuel's data, which is nice. And then finally, if we wanted to have a third level, I'll show you what that would look like in our calculation. I'm going to say or username is equal to manager 2. This needs to be the function of username, not the field. So now if I was to change my username to my final manager, so Reza Niazi here, I'm going to double check that I have him. Yep, I do. When I do that, Reza, because he has technically 3 frontline employees at the bottom of the pyramid behind him, he can actually see the data for everyone. So that's fantastic. That's great. Now, we also need to apply this not at the worksheet level, but rather at the data source level. So on my data source, I'm going to select add here, add filters, top of my screen, and I'm going to say user filter equals true. So that's that same filter that I created. I'm going to select OK, and the value that I want to use is true. Okay. Now, when I publish this data set up to my Tableau server, anytime someone logs in, that filter will be checked against this data source, and you'll actually be able to apply real-level security to any dashboards that actually use that data source. So with that, I hope that was helpful. Take care.